Hi, I'm David Griffiths, and welcome back to another video blog. Today, I want to talk a little bit about my good friend Paul Edwards. Now, referring back to the last video blog that I made a little prediction about he might bring a few friends with him to perform with him, and in fact that was correct. In fact, it was more than just friends, it was a whole band, which was great on my part because it sort of shows that I can handle these stresses. I can take anything that's been thrown at me and then produce something out of it, which, to be honest, works really well. It worked really well on the day. It was just very hectic then, as soon as I found out, because I set up preparing for only 2 people to come. Then to find out that actually no, there's a whole band coming. There was 3 acoustic guitars, a cajon, 3 vocalists, and a piano, and also a room mic as well. So I had 9 different things to worry about. So what I ended up doing was, so the 3 guitars were were DI'd, so I scrapped the microphones on the guitars. So 3 DI'd guitars, 2 vocal mics, even though there were 3 vocalists, piano microphone, and then a room microphone. No, I'm missing something, aren't I? Cajon as well. Yeah, I had a microphone in the cajon. That's 8 input channels there. I did have to compromise on a few things, like they had to share a vocal microphone in order for all the guitars to be heard. If this were to happen next time, I'd either need to borrow another interface so that I can then loop it into my interface, because I've got the possibility of 18 inputs on mine. So I've only got 8 at the moment, but I could actually have 18 if I wanted, using an extra interface. And I could also, have a mini mixer, plug all the guitars in the mini mixer, or the vocals, probably the guitars, because they're the more, they're the things that didn't need as much work on. So have all the guitars going in there, and then maybe having one going to me and then one going to a speaker, or I'll have a stereo coming to me. I'll pan them on the mini mixer so that I don't need to sacrifice any more channels for something else. But instead I decided to go for 3 guitar inputs and then 2 vocal mics, and then whenever they needed an extra one, they'd just share it in between them. Now, aside from the stresses and everything that came along with that, with regards to the cameras, I asked my friend Craig Street, who is the guy who deals with all the cameras. It's his camera equipment. He came in and set all the cameras up. He showed me, he walked through all the little things that I needed to do on the cameras, and he went through the switcher as well, properly going through individual parts and how I'm meant to set up everything. So the camera side of things, he dealt with all of that, and it just worked. It worked really nicely. With regards to the lighting, now the lighting was a little bit more tricky because we had more people, therefore we needed more lights, and I only prepared for 2 people, so I didn't have that many lights at all. But in retrospective though, I think the lighting worked well. Other than one or 2 people in the back, because we had Paul, who was right at the front, and then we had the band, which were all sitting down at the back. Other than 1 or 2 people that were hard to light because they had the piano in the way, and they had a bunch of other things, like they were playing their instruments, so they kept on moving their heads, and the lighting would change, so we ended up not having as much light. And that reflected on one of the cameras, where the lighting isn't that great on the camera. But other than that, I think it went well. If there was another band again, I'd probably have a bit more lights so that I could light them all individually, and as well probably a bit more coloured lights, because the background wasn't as separated from the subjects, and as well I would push the barriers back just a little bit so that I can actually separate the background and the lights and everything like that. When it comes to the ATEM switcher, so this is the first time I properly used it. It's much simpler than my OBS setup, so I didn't have to learn that much, to be honest. Other than how to route the sound through, I had to use another interface to actually route the sound through. So even though I was using this big interface here for the mixing, the stereo output had to go through in one of the cameras, all the way through the camera setup so that it actually records onto the cameras, and then has to go back into the computer using a little my little M Audio interface, two-way interface, and that would then go into OBS, and that's where it would then be broadcast then. It turns out that's a typical way to do it. I didn't realise that. I thought you could just have it internally, but it's better to actually have the sound going through the camera so that it actually gets synced up better. And there's tools that you can do, that you can use where it syncs up the mouth to the camera. Sometimes on the stream though, it does go out of syncs, and it is quite noticeable. But if it was in real time, you wouldn't be able to tell on the cameras because you've got these syncing tools. Now, as I have said before, with regards to the sound, it is quite different. I had to try and improvise a few things when it comes to the sound, and it ended up working. Because I needed a piano mic, I'd prefer to have a few piano microphones, maybe 2 to 3 inside the piano if I was to do this again. But because I was limited on the amount of inputs that I had to resort to one. Along with the 3 guitars, maybe, like I said, maybe it'd be better to put them into a separate mixing desk to then mix it down then in my computer where I'd add the effects and all that, because there wasn't much done to the guitars themselves. And as well, there were problems with foldback mixes. Because I only prepared for 2 people, I didn't worry about the foldback mix that much. I just thought, oh, maybe they just need what they are playing through. Well, when in fact one of the guys at the back was getting a little bit cranky with me because he wasn't getting his mix. And what I found was it was just the speaker placement where he was placed was quite an awkward position. So if I was to do this next time, I'd want to use maybe 2 speakers with 2 separate mixes, so people towards the left side of the room have one mix, and people towards the right side of the room have a different mix. So yeah. So the social response out of this worked really well, actually, because there were a few people who were sharing this, quite a few people that were sharing it. It ended up having quite a bit of exposure, so quite a lot of people were sending it around to other people, and then other people were sharing it because they saw their friends on there, and it ended up working really well, to be honest. Nothing inherently went wrong, as in terms of the social media, other than I clicked go live a bit too late, so he started talking and then he went live. But other than that, I don't think anyone noticed anything. I don't think anyone's going to watch the beginning. People are going to skip straight to the music. And when you're watching it live, you're not going to see the start. You're going to watch it live there and then. So other than that, I think everything went well with regards to the social media and marketing. Now, this is the first one that I have done with the proper equipment. Hopefully the next time now I should be on my own. Hopefully it goes well. This is the point now where I've had outside help helping me, and now I'm deciding to let go. I've spoken to people like Mal Pope, Rodri Darcy, and Craig, and obviously I will get their help in the future. But now it's time for me to sort of test what my capabilities are. So my next ones should be in the creative bubble. There should be more videos on this. I should be having maybe 2 to 3 in the creative bubble, and I'm still in the middle of emailing people about the round reading room, maybe for a future live stream coming soon. But other than that, I think that's it for this video. I hope everyone's well.